here on your Wednesday nights. Tier 3 action for this season. Scotty in the box once again for maybe hopefully a few Wednesday nights. Looking at this grid, it will be action-packed for sure. Looking forward to bringing you the action. I am not alone in the box this evening, however. I've got the man, the myth, the legend, Shining Swarm. Can you hear me? How are you?
Hello, I'm good. How about you?
I'm very well, very excited to see what the guys can deliver in this Bahrain race. Definitely an interesting track. We saw great races in Tier 1 and in Tier 2. How do you like Bahrain as a track itself?
I actually I like the first sector because he's a bit tight, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting one of those tracks. So yeah, should be interesting tonight, and great to have everybody's company watching along at home. As we'll quickly have a look at the calendar. We're not too far away from the green flag happening, but this is your Season 8 calendar across all three tiers. Bahrain, obviously tonight, Jeddah, Imola, Spielberg, Singapore, Melbourne, Austin, Suzuka, Zandvoort, Interlagos, Hungaroring, and then finally wrapping up round 12 midway through May at Yas Marina. So obviously a shorter season, and obviously the F1 25 game will be out there. You'd imagine fairly shortly after that, or not just or just before that. As we'll have a look at our lineups now. So this is your Tier 3 full-time grid. We're missing a couple drivers tonight. Got a couple of reserves in as well. So Arx and Mumba lead Red Bull. Dave and T8 drive for Mercedes. Bridgie and Deli Fuller. Good to see those two names back in the Ferrari. Aussie and A-Dog hold the McLaren. Battle Cat obviously drops down to Tier 3. He's medium traction. I know he's struggling, so it could be very interesting to see how he goes this season. He's joined alongside Bevo. Cuds and Bozzy joined Alpine for this season. Kingy and JSF1 holds Williams. Dolmore and Nudes round out RB. Jerobot and Dan the Racer in the Sauber. And then finally Cash Mash and VSC Paul and Hell in the Haas. So some very good quality drivers in that field. As we'll have a quick look at our previous race results from our first two races of the season in Tier 1. It was checkered flag ahead of Farmer Sam and Sir Joshy rounded out your podium. Remember, top 15 score points this season, so points have been reduced. So you have to finish, but you've actually got to finish within the top 15. No driver of the day points, but still 2 points for fastest lap. So checkered Farmer Sam, Sir Joshy Tier 1. In Tier 2, we had Jacko, Botanical Bot, and 07 Sebi were your top three. Unfortunately, we lost the end part of the race due to the game going into maintenance, but shout out to Mozza for sort of sticking through what was a little bit of a long night for himself, nearly going over 2 hours. So yeah, definitely going to be a long one. So he's enjoying the night off. But yeah, Jacko and Checkered, our first winners in AUSF1 Season 8, as we're very close to the green flag. We'll have a quick check of the track details. And as you can see, we have the hardest of the Pirelli range, the C1, the C2, and the C3 tyres. You can see traction, asphalt grip, track evolution, all quite high at a 4. Abrasion, obviously, max at 5. Tyre stress is about balanced, but I would steer clear of the medium tyre if you could. They are probably the worst tyre on this track. It's better to do. You'd probably see a strategy of a soft, hard, soft is the preferred strategy. Obviously, braking is quite harder to 4. Lateral movement and downforce is right in the middle. With the 3, we'll have 29 laps around this 5.412 kilometre circuit. The lap record is by Pedro de la Rosa in 2005 for 131.447. As we have got the green flag and we are loading into qualifying now. So Let's watch the action, ladies and gentlemen. Our first Tier 3 race of the season. We start at Bahrain. And as we load into the session, Shining Swarm, obviously you're Tier 3, so obviously you're hoping to get a couple of races this season. How are you finding the game at the moment, and how are you like as a driver?
Uh, I actually, I, I don't know because I'm like 3 seconds out the pace, but then I have to improve where I find a new rig. And yeah.
Yeah, and obviously that's obviously a newer driver like yourself. This improvement is the goal. So obviously trying to just get in as many races as you can will be obviously all important, and it's just obviously to learn. And these tier 3 guys, obviously some of them are still learning. Some of them have turned off assist. Some of them have maybe switch to a rig and a wheel. Some I know I've gone back to potentially a controller, just sort of not liking the way this game feels. But as you can see, very happy to announce that obviously we got the full grid tonight, 20 drivers in, exactly like Tier 1. Hopefully we don't have as much of the net issues as we were seeing the other night, last night. Obviously with the couple of the red flags thrown in there. But it is Dan the Racer that is out on track first, I believe. So we get my little track map up there. We most certainly do. So 18-minute session, obviously short qualifying for this season's format. And then your 50% race is your round format. So obviously red flags occur if we have multiple drivers disconnect. Hopefully, again, we don't have that have the case. But as you can see, bottom right-hand corner, your track map, we have 2 DRS zones for this, sorry, 3 DRS zones for this track, down the start-finish straight, out of turn 3, going up to turn 4, and then in the middle part of the lap where Dan the Racer is now between turns 10 and 11. So we're just currently watching Dan the Racer come through to start the final sector on his first out lap. So he might follow Dan the Racer. Well, we say that, but the Ferrari's passed him, so we might actually have a quick look at the Ferrari, and that would be Bridgie. So we'll have a follow along with the Ferrari driver as he starts his lap. Battery's still flashing, but we are underway now. So long run down into turn number 1. Has he still got that light flashing? Yes, he does. So he actually might not be on a massively quick lap. But through turns 1 and 2, very important not to go deep at turn 1. Can be a little bit caught out on the curving, but he's done that right. Bit more of a bit of DRS as he makes his way up into turn number 4. Couple of lines you can take, especially during the race. See plenty of side-by-side action through there. As we come into the tighter middle section now, climbs onto that right-hand side curve a little bit and backed out of it a little bit. So this race, his quali lap done. We'll switch down the Racer as we come up the rise, and probably the hardest braking zone on this track, just with the awkward angle to the left-hand side. Gets a good exit out of that corner, have a bit of DRS, he'll have a bit of a toe, but again, probably won't be a massively quick lap as he comes through the flowing left-hander. The long left-hand switches to the long right-hander. Got to be careful climbing that curve on the right because it's pretty much an auto-spin corner. Coming on to the second last corner, and he is getting a nice toes down the Racer. As we got yellow flag in sector 2, that's one of the Aston Martin round. As the final couple of corners, one's a corner, one's a little kink, but Dan the Racer is going to have a bit of DRS to the line, and it's going to be a 130.301 from Dan the Racer. As Paralozzi right behind goes 7 tenths quicker on a 29.396. Mumba crosses the line and goes P2 on a 30.039, as David 28.855. First driver into the 28s How much quicker will we go tonight? As we've got a few drivers about to finish their lap. As we've got 17 of the 20 drivers out on track. As King Dogger goes inside the top 3, he's obviously switched from full traction to medium traction. So he's obviously going to try and get acclimatised to that as well. As Jerry 89, just a reserve unfortunately this season, missing out on a full-time seat. But again, any people that drop out, obviously chances are for full-time seats throughout the season, as he's in the Red Bull reserving this evening. And Cash Mash goes to 28.4. These times get quick and quicker already, and that's a quick lap from Cash Mash in the Haas. Leads the way early with just under 13 minutes left to go in the session. Yellow flag in the middle sector as the Red Bull rounds the final corner now. And I thought he looked like he was going to come in, but he's going to finish his lap and goes inside the top 12 with a 30.674. As Shining, who are you seeing out on track at the moment?
Bossy of Alfie.
Where we go? Bozy crosses the line. He goes P14. So who are you looking at now?
T8.
T8, the Mercedes captain. So he's in the middle sector at the moment. Got a bit of traffic ahead of him. As we come into turn number 10. So a bit of DRS, you'll get a slight slipstream. And Alpine gets out of the way. So left-hander of turn 11. As we right on board. Gave just enough space on the right-hand side. Pebble in the middle sector does the Mercedes TP go. As we make the dart down with the sunrise just to the right-hand side. But won't really matter too much as he rounds turn 15. Bit of DRS to the line. T8 can he get close to the top 5? He can just goes outside the top 6. 29.233. As we see most of the drivers now having done at least one flying lap. And it's Cash Mash, Bevo, David, Nudes, and Bridgie, your top 5. Alright, who are we seeing out on track? Dead on a cool down from the look of it. Just switching through a couple of the drivers. We got T8 obviously on his cooldown lap. Jerabot's 3/10 up on his lap at the moment, and he's definitely pushing with that big slide through turns 13, as he has one corner left to navigate. The Sauerback Cash Mash goes even quicker, 27.981, absolutely flying, and I have a feeling for Cash Mash, if Jerabot can't get up there, Cash Mash might be a little bit too quick for Tier 3. Obviously I don't want to write him off after one qualifying session, but yeah, that is a very, very quick time from Cash Mash, and not sure if he got a toe or not, but that's after 3 laps as well on that same soft compounded tyre. So something to keep an eye out for the admins, as we did have a Sauber going slow. That's Dan, probably just getting maybe getting out of the way. No, he's out of fuel. So that's probably why. So he's going slowly. And that's Dom Morster trying to get out of the way of the Ferrari and the Sauber. As nice lap from Jerabot, as we saw earlier, 29 flat, but he's still over a second away from what we saw with the Haas. Bevo's still in the pit lane. Bridgie coming out for another run. I think we got the 2 guys down. Cuds, good to see him back. Good to see him back out on the grid. He's currently a 131.691. We thought he wasn't actually going to race, considering that he had wouldn't let him connect to multiplayer. So whether he's got that PS Plus back upright or if it was some other issue, but he's back out on the circuit and he's just behind his teammate. But again, I don't think that 31.6 would be a valid lap, or a representative lap, I should say. As we just watch the Alpine, as Paul and L. Good to see our one of our favourite Americans back on the AUSF1 Tier 3 grid. So good to see what Paul and L can do this upcoming season in the Haas. And I don't know if he's going to have the pace to match Cash Mash. That's for certain. That's, again, a very, very quick time. As I can actually quickly have a look at and see what our tier times are as we follow the Haas around for their lap. And I believe the tier 2 time, even though it was one shot quali, so we'll take that into account. But at the moment, Cash Mash has the tier 2 pole, because pole was Maniac on a 28. But again, can't really go by that because it was one shot. The tier 1 quali results, that 27.9 would have put him in P16 in tier 1. So we actually bet 5 drivers in tier 1 from Monday night. So if he's got any more time in that, yeah, he might be in danger of losing his tier 3. But yeah, Cash Mash definitely loving that no one's on full traction as we see Polidel coming out of the final corner. He crosses the line and he goes inside the top 13, 29.658. So Shining, who are you seeing out on track at the moment?
This F1.
So who are we looking at?
This F1 of the Williams.
Oh, the Wombs. Jace, where's he? All the way down the bottom. Yet to set a lap time, but this looks like a quick lap. So last driver to get a representative lap time on the board. Jace rounds the final corner. Teammate King Nogger is in P7. He will finish this lap. Jace F1 crosses the line. I think goes 18th though, 30.326. So I feel like he's got some more time in him. So that's a little bit of a slower lap time, but we'll keep an eye on it. On him now. Yeah, I agree, Cuds. That's definitely tier 1, and same with you, Jacko. Yeah, as we just said, quicker than the tier 2 pole time. Yes, it was only one shot, but yeah, that's a fantastic lap time by Cash Mash, as Aussie has gone into P2 while we're watching the Williams driver, 28.6, but again, he's still 7/10 off a pole. So this could be quite a large margin. Not sure if this is Cash Mash's favourite circuit, or one of his favourites, but it's a fantastic lap time that he's done. We saw Donwall go into P9, and I imagine it's going to be a pit stop. And he does come into the lane. We have just over 5 minutes left to go in our first quali session of the season for the Tier 3 boys here at Bahrain. And it's Cash Mash, Aussie, Bridgie, our top 3. Aussie, how are you doing? You're invalidated. Paul and L might be going again. He stayed out. Cuds is still bottom of the pack, 31.691. Does this look like a quick lap? That light's definitely not flashing, so this is a quicker one. May have got a bit of a tow from the car behind as he rounds turn for the right-hander. And the other Alpines run out of fuel in the final sector. Left flag is 4. As we come into the hairpin, tricky hairpin of turn 8. You've seen contact there in the past. And then turn 9, and then this sharp turn 10. We saw a few issues here, I believe, Monday night with a couple of cars having contact in spinning. But the third DRS zone. And then turn 11. These corners can get a little sketchy once you start getting some wear on these tyres, especially if you don't get the line right. Turn 13. quite easy to go over that line. Game sort of 50-50 whether or not it actually gives you a warning for it though. Cards has technically 2 corners, but I'm just going to say it's 1 corner. It was a nice final corner. Crosses the line. He does find a second, but still remains last of the runners. P20 was with a 30.6, but he's only a couple of tenths off with Jason P19. Speaking of, actually, I want to see what Cash is doing coming into the pit lane, so that might be a smart thing for him to do, not to improve that lap time. Bevo in P4. It's like a cool. No, he's saving his battery. Pollinell has gone up into P8. Dan in P11. Battlecat. We haven't seen much of the Aston Martin driver. Tier 2 runner-up and nearly pinched the championship off myself in the last Abu Dhabi. With the win there, I was thankfully just high enough to hold on to that lead. But obviously, Battlecat has dropped from full traction to medium, and I know he is struggling with it. So that's why he's been moved down to Tier 3 and only P14 for our Tier 2 runner-up. So that's how much he's having to try and learn this back. So he'd be very thankful that it's still running full traction. But it's going to be a bit of a slog season for Battlecat as he rounds the final corner now. He gets slightly earlier and he crosses the line. And it wasn't even an improvement either. So Battlecat's down in P14 at the moment. We've hit the 2-minute mark of qualifying for round 1 at Bahrain. And we can see a lot of drivers out on circuit. Deadly Fuller coming through Sector 2 now. The hairpin of turn 10. Got a few cars behind him. But doesn't have any DRS on. So he's going to be trying to save his battery. Shining, who are you seeing out on track at the moment? Bridgie did stay?
Yep.
Alright, so we watch the Ferrari driver. Oh, was Dan. That's in the pit lane, so he's going to go no higher than 12th. Oh, and that was a bad invalidation from Bridgie. At minute 10, I think he has enough time to cross the line. He's got to save his battery. Yeah, a minute to go from here, he'll be able to, but that's really going to cost him, and that's just taken the edge off the tyres. And he's got a whole lot of traffic in front of him, so that's not what he would have wanted. Just went wide there on the curb, having that moment, but thankfully saving it, not spinning. As Bevo's 3 tenths up at the moment, which will put him on the front row. No danger of clawing the Haas out front. Crosses the line. But he had his battery flashing. He lost a lot of time there. 30 seconds left to go. If he's got any battery, no, he's pulling off. So Bevo, while he started high. But a lot of improvement further back. Jerabot crosses the line to start their lap. I thought he was finishing. Not quite. King Dogger's on a lap. So plenty of guys to keep an eye out on. Nudes will be the last one to cross the line. No, he won't. Cash Mash will be. So he's the one will follow through last. First, who's that? That is Bevo, just trying to get out of everyone's way. Checkered flag is now out for everybody, as it will be Bozzy will be the first one across the line. But I think I just saw that light flash. He's getting out of the way, so it will be not that Williams. It'll be the other Williams, the King Dogger. Oh, big slide from the Alpine at the back. So if you guys come hit the checkered flag now, and King Dogger, is this a quick lap? Around the final corner, does he improve from 9th? He does, P2, 28.4. Took a little bit to load. Aussie's out. How's Bridgie going for his second run? Actually, we'll go to, where's that RB? Sorry, the Red Bull. Jury 89 crosses the line, moves up a couple of spots. P17, the 2 Mercedes now. T8 goes inside the top 4. Dave stays 7th. What about the Sauber of Jerabot? he goes inside the top 5. I want to stay on board with these top guys. Aussie's out of it. Cashmash is going to be the last across the line. Battlecat moves to P12. Is Cashmash quicker? The RB of Nudes stays P10. Cashmash, he goes even quicker. 27.7. 7 tenths clear. King Dogger, who's 2 tenths clear of Peril Aussie. And that's a fantastic front lap from Cashmash, and that is pretty much going to be a round 1 promotion from Cashmash, because that was ridiculous with his pace. But fantastic qualifying. Shining Swarm, I have a feeling we weren't expecting that margin to be so great at the end of qualifying.
Yep, I see. I think the final lap, most of the drivers got it very big.
Yeah, it was a fantastic lap. T8 putting that late lap in as well. He went top 4, so good position from the Mercedes drivers, as his teammate was P8. As we'll have a look at our results for qualifying, and it's Cashmash, King Dogger, Peril Aussie, your top 3. T8 Jerabot, Bridgie in P6, Bevo, Dave. I'll just got to quickly fill my names in Race League Tools. Donmore in 9th, Nudes in 10th, Full and Hell, Battlecat, Deadly Fuller, Dan the Racer, Mum A-Dog, Bozzy, Jerry 89, JSF1, and Cuds rounds out our top 20. So solid times there, but yeah, it was the guy out in front, way too quick, and fantastic pace from our P1 as we head into the race start completely under lights now. Clearly going to be a dry race, and obviously all important with strategies. Do they start on the softs? Do they start on the hard? Safety car in tier 2, Bert the hard on lap 10. Bert the hard runners. We had a couple of we had a safety car lap 14, and it sort of mixed things up in tier 1. Both mediums and the softs were struggling, fell off especially at the start of the stint. But should be a very, very interesting race. Shining, who do you think will win this race? Do you think Cashmash has too much speed?
Yeah, I think that Cashmash has so much speed.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very difficult for anyone to beat him as we make any final strategies, as we do have the lights for the first time in tier 3. 5 lights, we're underway. Cashmash and King Dogger lead us away, and it was a solid start from Cashmash. King Dogger side by side nearly with the Mercedes of Aussie. Can we all get through turn number 1? A couple of cars goes a little bit wide onto the curb. We're all still facing the right way. Cashmash already has a 7-10 lead as we've got a half spinner. Jerabot's had a moment off the exit of 3, but we're still all facing the right way. Couple of big movers as we see the Aston Martin and the Ferrari go side by side. Bevo and Bridgie holding out P4. Bevo right on the hunt, as we'll have a look at our tyres. Mixture of tyres for every single driver. All 3 compounds being used, but our top 2 on the softs, and Cashmash already has a 1.2 second lead. As we see nearly 3 wide up the back. We see 3 wide nearly here. And that's Dave getting out of the throttle a little bit as we see the Sauber and the Haas. Jerabot and Fallen Hill go side by side through turn 10. Darius not enabled until the next lap, but we've still got all 20 drivers within a second of one another. So it was only a couple of moments. I don't believe, or I say that, we have 3 drivers with front wing damage. So we've got Jerabot, we've got Deadly Fuller, we've got the Battlecat, and Battlecat's dropped to P18. So he's had a bit of a rubbish start, but obviously that's sort of just the congestion that you have at the start of the race, especially at turn 1 here at Bahrain. But it's Cashmash who already leads by 1.5 seconds with the fastest lap now on a 1:33.114. King Dogger just ahead, but he's going to have a train full of cars with DRS behind as Jerobot gets out of the slipstream. And I think Cash Mash is gone and done with this one, so we'll have to keep an eye on the medium runners, Aussie, Bridgie, Bevo, P3, 4, 5, and you can see all the rear wing flaps open for all the guys in this train. You'll see a lot of DRS trains in this race, as we see, where's Battle Cat? Chasing the Alpine on the hards. Can you see the damage? It's only slight damage, so not enough to knock it in place. As he nearly has a moment with Bozzy in front, and he's going to look down the inside of turn 8. Can't get the job done there, and he leaves himself open to the wounds of Jace. So just having a little bit of a look at the battles further back. But we're all still they're still all looking in that train, and as you can see, a bit of a gap now between Bozzy and Deadly Buller. So he'll have to try and close that gap. This battle for P2, which will be a battle for P2, Catch Mash outside DRS, he'll try and stretch his legs, and King Dogger this will probably be the first chance of an overtake for Aussie. And you can see the strategy screen now sort of gives you a 2-stop, but it's pretty much going to be a soft hard or a medium hard for these guys at Cash Mash. Then Aussie sets the fastest lap, and with DRS, King Dogger unfortunately will have to slip in behind. And Aussie takes P2 on the medium tyres, but the softs sort of the exact fire around here. Oh, as that was a moment from King Dogger. That's going to allow the Ferrari to potentially get the move past. He has the racing line. He can get the job done around the racing line. Can't do it though. King Dogger still remains in P3. He's just managing to hang on to Aussie's DRS, but he has to close in just a little bit. Can't afford to lose that, otherwise he'll be under more pressure from the guys behind. Always Jace. Got a yellow flag somewhere. Oh, that's Jerobot. He's come in for some tyres and that front wing change. He's on the hards. He'll go long. As we have a look further up, and Cash Mash is gone, and I 100% agree, and should be well clear in this one. Yeah, Shadows, he's got a front wing, but Sebi, he's changed. He was full traction last season. He's now on medium traction this season. So that's why he's really struggling down in P16. Yeah, doesn't have that full throttle benefit now, so he's going to have to temper the throttle a little bit with his medium, and he's obviously still trying to get used to that, and he is quite struggling. As we're about to see the McLaren lose 3 spots down the straight, we're going to go side by side between Bridgie and King Dogger. They all get cleanly through. Bevo's going to lose a position, just being caught on the inside. Bevo down to P5, but he's still going to have a bit of DRS. It's got to be King Dogger who doesn't have. Bridgie thought about the move down the inside, as that's wide from Aussie, and that just opens the door for Bevo. But in saying that, he gets some better traction out of the corner with that wider line, and Bevo actually lost out on the inside, and he loses to Donmore, who's up inside the top 5 now, as Jerobot has retired and is in pit lane. So our first retirement of the season in Tier 3, and it is the Sauber of Jerobot, but pit lane, so we will remain green flag racing. So, Shining, how are you seeing the race at the moment? What battles are you looking at the moment?
At the moment,
Oh, yellow.
I'm seeing a battle of P2.
Oh, sorry, as we're just seeing Bridgie and King Dogger swapping position, and as we see these guys battling, it's obviously just going to open up that gap out front even more. And we've got a train all the way down into P10. As I thought King Dogger was thinking about to move in the last corner. Aussie gets right up the rear end of the Williams, as we're right on board with said McLaren. Everyone having a bit of DRS. It looks like Bridgie maybe having a bit more top line speed than maybe what the McLaren does, and he only loses 1 spot. Oh, King Dogger, he's sketchy through turns 2 out of turn 1 and between 2 and 3. So that's going to give him a little bit of a worry. Oh, we've got a big collision at the back. If you give me a bit of a better angle, who was that? So involved A-Dog. He's lost a bit of time. Who's showing me damage? No one extra has added it. All I know is these soft tyres are already well past the first stage of wear. Yeah, that's a big gap open, so maybe a bit of a collision, a half spin down at turn one, which we not really that surprised seeing. But we're having a look at this this big train of cars, and Nudes and David are getting back within DRS. And all these drivers either on a soft or a medium runner. The hard runners at the back sort of haven't really made much ground. As we'll have a look at our position gains. Zero89's moved up 9. He's the biggest winner. Down the race there, he's up 6. Donwell up 4. Bridgie up 3. Biggest loser, Jeremy, obviously DNF P15. And then you got Dave, Mumba down 4. Battlecat down 3. T8 down 3. As we'll see the battle now between the Williams, the Ferrari, the McLaren, the RB, and it's going to be King Dogger versus Bridgie side by side into turn number 1, and it's going to be Bridgie inside line. He can pull it up in time, but he has a wobble on exit that holds up King Dogger a little bit, but he didn't allow the McLaren of Aussie through. And now you got Bevo trying to maybe sneak his way through as we see the RB go side by side. Domwar, Bevo, Aussie. Oh, that got very close to contact. Domwell had to get out of it. Thankfully, no massive sort of side pod glitch setting him off track. So, got to be a little bit careful. Just looking in your mirrors. Just got to give the guy on the outside just a little bit of room. As we still see Cash Mash. Haven't seen him. He's 5 seconds up the road. You can see him just at the bottom of your screen. And this pack is getting hectic from P2 down. And King Dogger's just going to wait within DRS. Sorry to hear that, Jerabot. Whether it was set up related for yourself, I don't know. I don't know if you did pick up damage or not, but unlucky. But hopefully we can see you again next week in Jeddah, I believe. So going to be an interesting race there. Usually chaotic around Jeddah. As Bridgie did get a little bit of a gap, but again, with how long this start-finish straight is, DRS, as you can already see, Aussie getting out of the slipstream. We're going to be nearly 3 wide. Oh, and there's contact, and that's Ferrari off circuit. Ooh. King Dogger, he's got front wing damage. You can see Bridgie, front wing damage, just the movement there. Little bit silly. Bevo's going to try and capitalise on it. And King Dogger all the way down into P7. So King Dogger just getting that braking sort of out of touch a little bit. Got it a little bit wrong, and he's got that wing damage as well, I believe. Bridgie most certainly does, and he's going to struggle. On the medium tyres, you could box down to go hards the rest of the way. We do remain green, so no VSC for that damage. As we can see, T8 and Donmore fighting. King Dogger, if he could just stay with this train, he'll be right, but just a bit of a clumsy hit, actually down at turn number 1. As we have a look, does he have the damage? No, he got away with it, so it was only the Ferrari that picked up damage, but that's cost themselves plenty of time. And Bridgie, he's going to really struggle with these couple of corners with the right end plate gone, and he just does feel like it. Gap out front, 8 seconds already. So I know these guys are fighting hard, but yeah, Cash Mash is gone, and maybe gone from tier 3 after tonight, but he's driving a fantastic race. It'll be a good close battle, as Bridgie unfortunately does have to come into the box, as King Dogger, his night goes from bad to worse. He picks up 10 seconds for speeding in pit lane, couldn't drop that speed quick enough, as we see T8 and Bevo. So I said about a lap and a half ago, T8 was P7, he's back up inside the top 2. But he's got a hungry McLaren and a hungry Aston Martin right behind him. Oh, a bit of a late move. Thankfully, no contact. As the Aston Martin sends the move down the inside. Tech gets the wider line. Does he get the better traction out? He does. Bevo has struggled taking the inside line at turn 4. So he might just have to maybe start thinking maybe moves around the outside. But I think he's getting a good exit out of turn 3, that he's right up the backside of the car, that he has to always duck down to the inside. So he's sort of stuck there, unfortunately, a little bit. As he's lost a little bit of time to T8. Got to be careful not to drop DRS. You can see the line of cars behind. And I did say David and Nudes was going to join this pack, and they have. And then you can see the big train behind that we haven't really spoken about. Deadly Fuller leading that way. Right behind him is the Battle Cat, having very slight wing damage. I don't think it'd be affecting the Aston too much, but I reckon those hard compounded tyres are just starting to feel nicer. Oh, was Deadly Fuller. I thought he was going to loop it around. Thankfully saves it. But I reckon those mediums are really starting to struggle, and Battlecat will be looking for a move as we've got a yellow flag. I think that was just someone having a bit of a moment. Not sure if it was Cuds or Bozzy. Actually, might have been Leap. As we'll head here, Jerry89 coming into the pit lane. Doesn't look like he's got damage, so this might be an undercut, and it might be a brilliant undercut. Hard tyres go onto the Red Bull, I believe. Sorry, no, mediums. Not going to get them 20 laps, that's for damn sure. So really unfortunate, whether that was his strategy or not, as we see Bevo again on the inside. He doesn't have the traction there, can't get the move done, but he thankfully does cover off from Donmore. Stays P5. So T8, Aussie back up into P3. That's a move down the inside at turn 8. Donmore, who gets the better run. Unfortunately, it's for Donmore, it's going to be Bevo has the inside line, but he locks up, goes deep. That's an easy move, switchback move from Donmore up inside the top 4, and he'll pick up a bit of DRS as well from the guys, but he's going to have to close 2 tenths to get DRS down the start-finish straight. Hopefully he can close that gap. Bevo just having that moment, just having that sort of inside line, that late lunge, just lock it up, or just going a little bit too deep, unfortunately. Inside the top, drops down to P5. Dan's doing a good job, P6. He moved up a few positions off the top, so he'd be up close to 10 positions nearly. He's doing a really good job. But we'll switch to T8 versus Peril Aussie. DRS for the McLaren should be an easy move as we see the RB of Nudes coming in. Probably a good call to pit now. You don't want to get double stacked behind your teammate. Separate the cars. Not sure if they're sort of working together as a team. That's good play. Get a bit of an undercut. Dudes might jump a few of these guys when he comes out of pit lane. As there's no movement with the top guy, Hell, and moving up with a couple of the guys boxing. So this field has spread out a little bit. So obviously everybody either going onto a medium or a hard. Paul and Hell's gone onto a medium. Probably another stop for the Haas driver. Bridgie on those 2 lap old hards, and he's still come out ahead of King Dogger and Nudes as well. So he'd be able to find a bit of pace by himself. So we'll see what Bridgie can do. Obviously boxing a couple ups earlier for all that front wing damage, and he's right behind the Red Bull, who has made a stop as well, but they've gone medium tyres. So again, not sure if they'll be able to last to the end. Keep an eye on it as these guys still within DRS, but a little bit more spread out. Shining, how are you seeing the race at the moment? What are your thoughts? We know Cash Mash is probably going to win, but who do you feel could probably finish on the podium?
Maybe like E8 and maybe like that's okay.
He could, if a late safety car comes out, he could benefit from it, as we see 4 cars coming into the pit. And it was most of those guys in that train out front. Donmore, Bevo, you got A-Dog in there, Mumba's in there as well. As we want to see where they come out in relation to Bridgie. And it's going to be close. Bridgie and the Red Bull Jury 89. Oh, they're going to be slow. Remember, they're going to be on cold, hard compounded tyres. If Bridgie wants to have a crack at a few of these guys, he's got to try and do it now. We'll have a bit of DRS. Doesn't quite have the battery to play with, though. And has to sit in behind, as he has a bit of a moment off turn 4. But he'll have some grip. as he rounds turn 7. Thought about a cheeky lunge down at turn 8 while he still had the better tyre attempt. Can't quite do it, but he's got a hungry Red Bull right behind. Oh, as that got close, Bevo going a little bit deep once again in turn 10. Didn't quite hit Don Moore, thankfully. But Don Moore, he's the one without any DRS. Battle behind. Oi! It's good evasive action from Bridgie. We saw the onboard there. Bevo, I think, purposely broke a little bit later, so not sure if there was contact. That could have very well ended badly. Bridgie having to cut the corner. I reckon he picked up a warning for that. It's not a track that you can pick up a lot of pens, but definitely something that you got to be careful from. Aussie is in the pits, so he's gone the one lap overcut. Problem is, the undercut we know is very powerful around here. Donmore's crossing the line now. He's going to be that lead train. Where's Aussie? You can see him coming out. He's going to have the inside line. You're going to have cold tyres, but potentially going to go 3 wide. The Red Bull goes deep. That was a little bit of front wing damage. Not sure if it was from the Red Bull or not. As Bridgie picks up a 3-second time penalty, he's cut the corner going side by side with Donmore. He's got the inside line at turn 4. Donmore, he's going to try and hang it around the outside. They both have little moments of traction, and it's Bridgie, unfortunately, that loses it, and that allows the Red Bull. Or as they're still fighting side by side, you can't really see side by side action here, and it is the Red Bull that has the front wing damage. You can see the right end plate is gone, and this has sort of messed this battle up a little bit. Got to be a little bit careful to contact Bevo down the inside of David trying to hold his spot. So after all that, Aussie has the lead of this particular train. Paul and Hill technically is your second place driver, considering that he has made a stop, but again, those 4-lap old medium tyres I don't think will be making it to the end. T8 does come in, as well as our race leader. He's going to go the medium tyres. 16 laps on them, yeah, possibly. Maybe he's going to try and do a 2-stop to try and make sure that he stays in tier 3, but I don't think that's happening. As we see the Haas driver come out, feeds in just behind the Alpine, but you can see the big gap. Sort of forget the Alpine and the Haas, as Paul and Hell, he's actually going to make a move down the inside of Bozzy. Oh, there's slight contact. They get away with it. As we're going to stay with this battle, but you can sort of see the pack behind. And Bozzy gets back past, takes the inside line on those hard compounded tyres. The Paul and Hell will hate that, as we nearly go side by side further in the background. Donmore, no, Bridgie, T8, he tried to keep it inside. Bridgie's setting a move down the inside. Gets the job done. Little bit of contact. Thankfully, no wings get damaged. As we do have a few drivers still carrying a little bit of wing damage. Jerry, obviously, he's probably the one that's going to struggle. He's dropped outside DRS. As King Dogger has a bit of a moment. So just a few of these guys, maybe just not quite getting their braking points sorted. And yeah, just unfortunately, just not quite getting it right. As Dan, Battlecat, Cuds, and Bozzy, the only 4 drivers left to make a pit stop. Dan has decided to come in off the medium to compound tyres. We'll have a couple of laps over, but we'll see how he goes. Cuds loses to Cash Mash, so gets back up into P2. Obviously, new medium's going to be well quicker than an old medium, as we're going to potentially go 3-4 wide. Gives me the backing, which I don't really want, as Ballsy going to try and still hang it there as we go Paul and Hell and Parallel Aussie. As Aussie does get through, and it's going to be Bozzy and Paul and Hell again side by side through turn 4. Bozzy has a moment on the inside line. Still going to go side by side. Oh, there's contact. Does Bozzy keep it out of the wall? Thankfully he does. Bit of a moment. That's the yellow flag. Thankfully no end plate damage or anything. And Dave gets a move done on a couple of the drivers that have had the off. And I think Paul and Hell's just giving that place back. He's just got to be a little bit careful that he doesn't do it in a dangerous position. As you see the Red Bull and the Aston go side by side, the Williams trying to get the switchback move, and that's King Dogger and Dan. So Dan's come out in this pack now, trying to get those hards warmed up. He could be right up there in terms of potentially a top 5 finish, and he's done quite well, especially with these guys having a bit of argy-bargy. Bevo and King Dogger get past Paul and Hell. Paul and Hell, oh, that's going to be a wide line, and he's on the gravel. He's going to spin in front of the track. Thankfully, all the cars have gotten past. Cashmash sets the fast lap of the race on the medium compounded tyres. Thankfully, the guys behind just got through before he spun it back on circuit, but just that wide line through turn 13 as he sees Jace past him. Unfortunately for Paul and Hell, because it was doing really well actually, as we see some moves further up the field. And King Dogger up into P12, Bozzy P11. Remember, he's yet to stop. He'll sort of be hoping for a safety car. Paul and Hill's coming in. I'd imagine a set of hard tyres will go onto that Haas now. So plenty of action in the last couple of laps. Battlecat still leads, but he's only just leading ahead of Cash Mash. And again, Battlecat won't really fight this, as you can already see, getting out of the way. Or he just had actually, no, never mind, he actually just had a moment out of turn 10. Oh, he was actually going to let the effective race leader through. Not quite having the grip on those hards, and again, see the review point of the Aston Martin, and he just doesn't quite have the confidence with traction, just with the medium traction just yet. As we should easily see the Haas, as we got a yellow flag, that is Year 89 that's had a spin at turn 11. Remember, still carrying that front wing damage. And that's an easy move. Cashmash gets back his race lead. Lap 16 to 29. He's well clear of the guys that he is actually fighting. He's about 9 seconds clear as we see Bridgie and Aussie continue their fight into turn number 1. As Cuds comes in for a set of medium compounded tyres. So he makes his one and only pit stop, you'd imagine. So both Cuds and Jerry in the pits. As we see Bridgie, he's on the second P2 at the moment on the podium. Battlecat yet to stop as well. Battlecat hoping for a 10-second lead to the guys behind. So low down a little bit in that last couple as we see both Mercedes driver T8 and David, who as King Dogger picks up a 3-second time penalty, so that will hurt him at the end of the race. As T8 might want to try and maybe let his teammate through, being David's on the mediums. And I think they, yeah, as I call it, they're going to do just that. So Dave will have the inside line, try and maybe just catch back up from those mediums to that. Oh, he goes wide though. So they were working together. This goes too deep. Oh, and there's slight contact. Dan goes off track. They sort them, but all that sort of teamwork that they tried to do did not pay off whatsoever, and they probably lost even more time as the Battlecat finally comes in. I'd imagine he'll go potentially a soft tyre from the end now, as we see Aussie, Bridgie swapping positions. How's Domborn? Does he feel a little bit jumpy to get the move done? He gets one done. Does he manage to pull it up? He does. He's got to leave room for the Ferrari, and there's slight contact. Bridgie doesn't want more front wing damage. Thankfully avoids it. And Domborn P3, Bridgie in P4. Aussie back in P2, but you can see at the top left, 12 seconds between him and Cash Mash. And I have a feeling Cash Mash is just on a cruisy Sunday drive, I reckon. He's not having to have done much work at all. Last thing he wants is a safety car, but then again, he's probably got the pace to actually pull away anyway. As we'll continue to follow this top 3. Has broken up a little bit with Dan behind, but Dan has cleared both Mercedes now, so remember, he's going to be on freshest hards. He's 6 laps younger than Bridgie and 3 laps younger than Domborn. So Dan potentially could be in this, but a little bit of contact with the Mercedes last lap. So we'll see how he goes. Only the one retirement at the moment, which is Jerabot, who pit and quit early on. Unfortunately, just the setup was not right for him, and he had already a pit stop earlier. So unfortunately for him, so we've still got 19 drivers in. Top 15, remember, score points. So you not only have to finish, you actually have to finish inside the top 15. So reduced point system for this season. As you got to see Dunmore. Do we see Bridgie thinking about making it through wide? He's got to potentially send it on the RB. Dunmore does go a little bit deep. That will hurt him through turns 2 and 3. And Bridgie right on the back. Dunmore does go defensive. So he's going to have the inside line at turn 4. But we've seen in the past just not being able to have the traction. And you can just see that wider line able to get that job done. As we've lost Messi Nudes. I don't think he's got any damage, thankfully. He's just got to be careful that he doesn't keep bidding it. Let those tyres just cool back down. As we got Aussie and Donmore making an interesting spot for a position. That would have been out of turn 8. And the fighting that these three have done, this has brought Dan and both Mercedes and Bevo back into this battle potentially for a podium position. But Bridgie with the 3 seconds, he's probably the one that's going to hurt the most because unless he can pull away, he'll drop right down these cars once the end of the race happens. Which I'll show penalties on screen now. It's 3 seconds for Bridgie. King Dogger has 13. 10 seconds obviously for speeding in pit lane, so he's hoping for a safety car to at least get that 10 seconds removed and potentially chuck on a set of tyres and be racy at the end. But he'll drop like a stone further down and might actually even finish out of the points at this rate. But we're lap 19 to 29. 11 laps to go. Haven't seen the Haas out front. These miles clear. Aussie makes the move on Bridgie. These two have had a great battle all race long. Donmore as well. Good to see Donmore right up there as well. Dan and the two Mercedes drivers having a nice fight. Dan's actually lost a bit of time. He was within a second, but he's dropped out of that. Or as we see Bridgie, I'm not sure if there was contact, but Aussie definitely goes wide. Doesn't look like either driver has damage. Hopefully gives me a front angle of the McLaren, but I'm not sure if Aussie just went deep or if there was actually contact before the apex or in the braking zone. If there was, Aussie won't be too happy about that, but again, he's within DRS, so no time lost there. But as I said, all these sort of little battles that happen, it allows Dan to try and close into within that 1 second to join this battle. Unfortunately, he's going to be just outside again, and we'll lose a couple of tenths down this straight. Yeah, I was going to go to you, Shining Swarm, but we've got Jason to the wall. Left end plate gone. Do we see an intervention of the safety car or a VSC? We don't yet. It remains green. So Jace, he was driving quite nicely. He was in the points, but unfortunately he's going to have to make a pit stop. And yeah, the guys behind, he's got to lose quite a lot, and I don't think he'll be able to gain that back in 10 laps, even with the new set of softs. As we got Donmore, Bridgie swapping, and Donmore, again, he just goes that little bit deep. He does block Bridgie that time around, and Donmore will have to go defensive, you'd imagine. Not really, but Bridgie wants that outside line. Couldn't get it, so has to sit back behind. Aussie and Dan, David, T8, Bevo, no change of the top order. Battlecat in P9. He's on the medium compounder tyre, 3 laps. He's leading a train of his own. So we'll see if Battlecat can actually get up near his teammate, but it's 6 seconds and those mediums will drop off quickly, so we've got on that. But did Dom have a bit of a moment through the second sector? Guys are right close. Bridgie doesn't decide to go for a move like he did earlier at turn 11, but he had to cut the curb, so he stays where he is. But Shining Swarm, 10 laps left to go. We know Cash Mash is doing well up front. How are you liking the battle between these guys fighting for the podium?
Actually, I very kind of I maybe I don't know who is going to hang out for the podium.
Yeah, I don't either. As we can see, Bridgie and Donmore again side by side into the final first corner, and Bridgie retakes it. Oh, little bit of a front to rear contact. Donmore just maybe a little bit of bump for the Ferrari. I think Bridgie most certainly knows that he's there. He retakes this train, but you can see down the race he's most certainly within 1 second now. Bevo gets past T8, or attempts to, but he actually loses position to, I believe, both. He was trying to go around the outside. A-Dog and Deadly Fuller having a nice scrap for the final spot inside the top 10. We're going to go side by side. A-Dog will lead them here. King Dogger coming into the pit lane. He's just leaving pit lane now. New set of mediums. He may be able to climb his way back up to Jace, who's in P18. Hasn't come in with that front wing damage. So he's going to try and stick it out. Oh, yellow flag. That's an Alpine. Come on, where are we going? Oh, that's Cards. He's at his moment. Thankfully hasn't lost his wing. So he'll just have to be careful he doesn't overcook those tyres. Let them cool down. Bozzy gets past Jace, and I think Jace just with that wing damage. Oh, as Jace did fight it. Got to get it back. Bozzy will have a better switch back. He does just that. Oh, is that coming in? This is a late pit stop. Does he feel like his tyres can't get there? It's got to be a soft run, but he needs a safety car now to bring him back. That hasn't worked for him, as this order was still the same. Yeah, Dave, still in pit lane. He's going to come out ahead of the RB Nudes. Problem is, he's not going to have the time. I think he's just going to run out of laps, even though all these guys are on 10, 14, 11 lap old hard compounded tyres. I don't think it's quite going to work out for him, unfortunately. Battle Cat. We saw him a couple of laps ago. He hasn't actually made any progress into his teammate. It's about a couple of tenths he's gained just in that last sort of sector, but he's still at 6, so he's probably not going to be in contention of a top 5 unless we sort of have a big moment between guys at the end of the race. But we haven't had a safety car yet, which is actually very good to see. Yeah, he's done a fantastic. We've seen a fantastic race at the moment. No safety cars, only the one retirement. A couple of little collisions and a couple of yellow flags, but other than that, we've been thankfully really clean. As we hit lap 23 or 29, gap out front 13.2. We haven't seen much of him. We're having a look at this battle. No changes of moving. We do. Bevo. Oh, I thought he was going to make contact with the Sauber of Dan. Doesn't. Falls back to the end of the train. Aussie gets the move done on Bridgie, but he does have the inside line. He pulls it up. Bridgie tries to do the switchback. Oh, I thought he was going to send it not quite up far enough. Oh, as Dan goes completely off circuit, that would be a warning. You don't want to pick up a silly warning. I know that there's a car there. If it gives me a better camera angle, King Doggo sets the fastest lap, so he's currently getting those 2 bonus points. Oh, I don't know if that was a bit of a graphic glitch, but I thought there was contact there. So Bevo wanting to get a bit of a move on, but he's got one of the oldest tyres in that group. But he needs to just claw his way back up to sort of the middle to the front of this train, so he then potentially could be on the podium. As I said, Bridge is out of it, so at the moment it's Aussie and Donmore joining Cash Mash on the podium. Oh, I thought Dan was going to send a sneaky one up there. You don't really want to do that. And you don't want to do a clumsy move to break this train up, otherwise you'll forfeit your podium chances altogether. As Bevo completely misses his braking point, nearly drills the back of T8. That's going to really slow him down. I think he'll still get DRS. He does, but he's 1.3 seconds behind. That might have just ruined his chances of a podium this evening. As you got Bridgie and Aussie still side by side. Bridgie goes a little bit deep, so that will allow Aussie to have a bit of a better run. No, he has a moment. Donmore had to climb the curb. Now we're looking for Dan. Dave sets the fastest lap. Dan, I thought he was going to have a look down the inside of the McLaren. He's going to have a look now because both of them, he got blocked a little bit. He'll have the inside line and he does get the job done. Up inside the top four is Dan the racer. Oh, that's a big moment from Bridgie. He's got the 3 seconds, so he's not going to stay on the podium, but he nearly ended his race right there. That wall seems far away, but he can most certainly hit it. As Donmore just going to sit behind. I think you want to be second or third in this train come the final lap. But really nice job from Bridgie there to save that. That could have been a hell of a lot worse. As we come through turn 11 now, switching to the right-hand side of turn 12. So we're getting close to the end of this race. Tyre wear for a few of these guys. Not looking too bad. So I don't think anyone will sort of be in any sort of danger of punches. Cash Mash obviously went so long in the first stint that he'll be right. He just won't be as quick as these guys. He can just coast to the line. So 5 racing laps left for these guys. Donmore moved down the inside at turn 1 once again. Bridgie's got to try and hold it around the outside. He gets the inside line for this corner. There's very close. Donmore will feel like he got pushed off track. This allows Donmore to get the inside of Dan the race gets the inside of Donmore. The double D's. Oh, that's Bevo. Nearly, I reckon he made contact to the side of Aussie. Aussie won't be happy with that. So Bevo again, he's just gone deep a couple of times. Drilled T8 at the corner, and I reckon him surely made contact with the McLaren there at turn 4. Just got to settle down a little bit, but all these guys battling. Battlecat's only 3 seconds behind this lot. So if there's a big crash behind, if there's a big crash in front, Battlecat might somehow find himself on the podium after sort of being sort of nowhere, just starting on those hards. He went long, he sort of kept clean, and he could find himself ahead of a few guys out front. We've seen a few guys run wide, so a couple of drivers could be on 2 warnings as well. Mash, good to see you in chat. Oh, I thought Bevo, Bevo lost that last corner. He doesn't get the job done, and T8 won't be happy because it's sort of slowing them down. It just forces T8 to go slightly wider and potentially loses a chance of a move. As we're going to see side by side, 2 by 2 into turn number 1. Dan gets the job done. No, he doesn't, because Bridgie again, he can hug that inside line. There's slight contact. Dan nearly goes off track. Bridgie likes to get that inside line and then just give barely any room for the drivers there as Aussie gets down, but he can't. He just doesn't have traction. We've seen that turn 4 move happen pretty much nearly every time. You send them down the inside, you just don't have the traction to keep it there. As we get the lovely aerial shot, you can see the 6 cars there. You can see the Battlecat only 1.4 seconds. He's well within a chance of DRS by the time we get to the start-finish straight. Oh, as there's slight front to rear contact, Donmore touches the back of Aussie. You do not want to pick up silly wing damage at this point of the race. As we have a bit further back, David on those soft compounded tyres, he's in the Deadly Buller A-Dog battle now. But again, he was obviously fearing a puncher, otherwise you wouldn't come in for the second time, because again, once he gets past these guys, he's still 10 seconds off where he's meant to be. So unfortunately, that strategy just hasn't worked for him. Needed to go to a hard compounded tyre rather than medium, and it might have just been a mistake due to the strategy probably fitting everyone on a 2-stop strategy as well. Because that's what happened in Tier 1 and I believe Tier 2 as well. As we come into turn number 1, and it was going to be T8 trying to get past Donmore that time around, nothing doing. 3 laps left. And at the moment, it's Dan the Racer and Aussie on the podium. Dan thinking about the move down the inside. Bevo again nearly drills Donmore into turn 4 now. Bevo's definitely loud on the brakes. He's got the inside line. Tan has to back out of it. So Bevo up inside the top 6. You can see Battlecat right at the back. Wasn't able to close within DRS. But with the way these guys are making moves, and when we get close to lap 29, I reckon we're just going to see a fair few. Oh, was that Bridgie? No, Bridgie was actually, Lon was right. It was down the race that was sort of compromised through turn 10. Problem is all these drivers have DRS, so unless someone has a big slide out of the corner, you're not getting it. As we flow through turn 12. Lead out front, 15 seconds. We'll see the Haas driver when he crosses the line, but we sort of haven't needed to watch him. This battle nearly with 7 cars. Battlecat's just hanging, just off the... As we cross the line now, we've got 2 racing laps left, and it's Bridgie that leads the train. However, do you want to be leading when you start the final lap? Dan's going to send the move down the inside. Gives enough. Americans had to take avoiding action, and he's gone off track. That's 3 seconds. That's cost him a podium. But I think T8 has lost a little bit of time. He's outside DRS. Oh, an Aussie nearly drilled the back of the Ferrari, and that allows both the RB and the Aston Martin to follow their way through. So Aussie, I think, will still be on the podium. No, he won't actually. He'll be P4 because Donmore and Dan, as Paul and Hell gets up 3-second time penalty. So it'll be P4 when he gets past the 2 guys with penalties. He needs to make a couple of these moves done now to try and have a chance on the final lap. So Dan will lead. Battlecat's finally at the back of this train, but just has a poor exit through 10. But he'll get DRS, and Battlecat come clouds and pinch a podium. We've seen side-by-side action. We've seen slight contact. A couple of guys run out of road. That on the final lap. Cash Mash. We'll have a quick look at him now because he's going to cross the line to start here. Will clear out front. But Shining Swarm, what a great final lap we're in for.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. The battle of P3 is 10.
Exactly right. Mumba retires from the session. He was out of the points anyway, so 1 Red Bull is out. Jerry's in P17, the reserve. And flag. That was the worst case. Mumba absolutely saved down the racer there because they were all under yellow flag. There was no, they weren't able to make the move. So I don't think a few of these guys will be that happy. Bridgie not going to bother sending the move, and he's got the 3-second anyway, so probably won't be able to really survive. But that retirement in pit lane has really hurt this sort of last lap battle. The fact that the guys couldn't overtake into turn number 1. Donmore holding on from Bevo. He can probably let Bevo pass with the 3 seconds unless he doesn't feel like Bevo can sort of get that penalty removed. But our final DRS straight, it's going to be Dan. He's got a 6/10 gap. I don't feel like we're going to see any passes down at turn 11. The straight's just not quite long enough. We won't. It's going to be a move or a turn 13 move, I reckon. But I think the gaps are too much. Maybe Bevo or Donmore. But doesn't go for it. Yeah, Cash Mash. Absolutely unbeatable. He crosses the line. He will pick up the first race in Tier 3 victory. Oh, Bevo and Donmore. Bevo burnt a lot of battery to get that move done. But it's going to be Dan the racer. He will come across the line in P2. Bridgie in P3, but loses it due to penalties. Donmore is our 3rd place getter. Power Aussie in P4. T8 in P5. Bridgie does drop to P6. Battlecat, one of the biggest movers of the race, in P7. Bevo drops to P8 after that late penalty. David, after that second stop, he was only 6.7 seconds off that sort of group, but unfortunately just lost too much time with that second stop. A-Dog finishes inside the top 10 with his good battle with Deadly Fully in that second stint. He finishes 11th. Nude with the second stop. With the later stop, he finishes in P12. Cuds, 8 laps on those soft compounded tyres, finished 13. King Dogger just beats Paul Lee across the line, but Bozzy jumps a pair of them. So Bozzy in P14, King Dogger is the last points place getter in P15. So Paulie unfortunately misses out alongside Jerry 89 and Jace F1. I think Jace did come in to change that front wing. Fastest lap will go to Dave. So he'll get an extra couple of points for Mercedes, who do both finish inside the top 9. Both Astons also finish in the top 10, and both McLarens finish inside the top 10. Cuds has retired and left the session, but he'll be put back into that position. But fantastic battle. Cash Mash's tyres, I can see, were dead at the end, but he was well clear, so it didn't matter. Dan the Racer gets the game driver of the day, and I'm thinking I'm going to give him driver of the day personally as well, because I think he was up like 10 spots, 12 spots from where he started. But it was Cash Mash, probably his one and only race in Tier 3, absolutely dominating fashion. He won that by. He got the gap early and then stayed well in front. Dan the Racer and Donmore, those two drivers, fantastic. They were in the right spot in that train on that final lap. They drove fantastic, made some nice moves. Mostly it was very hard but clean racing. Fantastic to watch. And that is your top 3 podium. Our final race at Bahrain for the round. But it's Cash Mash. 45 minutes in, no safety cars, which was very nice. Donmore, headed down the racer, sorry, and Donmore. Aussie, Bridgie, Bevo, David, and A-Dog, your top 10. Deadly full of nudes, Bozzy, King Dogger were your points finishers alongside Cuds as well, who did get classified. He just left the session earlier. So Paulinel finished 16th, Jason was in 17th, Jerry 89 was 18th, and then our 2 retirements, Mumba, who unfortunately sort of mistakenly with that retirement, sort of hurt with the yellow flag at turn 1 on that last lap, and then we obviously lost Jerry very early on into this race. But what a race, what an opening for these guys. Driving from all of them, and yeah, well-deserved podium from both Cash Mash, Dan the Racer, and Donmore. Yeah, Shining, how'd you find that battle, find that race? Because action-packed all the way through and some great battles.
Yep, and no safety cars as well. I thought I was amazing.
Yeah, which was really good to see. We probably got close a couple of times to getting a safety car, but yeah, no, it was fantastic from all of them. If you had to pick a driver of the day, who do you feel should probably get it? Who do you feel drove probably the best race?
I would feel like between Aussies and the Racer, but I have to choose Dan the Racer because he's just phenomenal.
Yeah, there's definitely a few names there that could very well take out driver of the day. As I said, I think Dan's probably a very good candidate for driver of the day. So we'll wait for these boys to jump into the comms box. We'll have a little bit of a chat with them. We'd love to have a bit of a chat. Cash Mash is probably his one and only race. So sort of not trying to completely bag him out, but yeah, and easy then. So I'll just quickly get this graphic up for everybody at home as we do that one, and it was mostly the right size, so we'll take that. So there's your top 3, everybody. That one. So Cash Mash down the race at Donmore. So Aussie 1 and 2, and then we one of our favourite Americans on the podium as well. Good to see Donmore up there as well, and I believe he picked up a podium where earlier on in the week, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So he's been driving very well, has Donmore. Sheldon saying T8 for driver of the day. Honestly, he drove really well as well. He qualified P4, finished in P5. I think he did drop down to P7 or P8 at one point, but then obviously he was sort of constantly in that pack. He had a good battle with his teammate and at one point as well. Um, yeah, fantastic for those guys. Um, as we just waiting for these guys to hop in and join. Oh, and we'll move over. So, Shining, if you can see on the Discord, we're just going to move over to podium interviews.
All good.
Alright, so we're in this chat now, so hopefully no one says anything too stupid. Zan, for some reason, is in here,
Hello.
so we sort of have to...
Interviewing for Dom.
Oh, you're going to interview for Dom? Alright, well, we'll start with you then.
Yes.
Because,
Okay.
no, sorry. No, you third. Get me names wrong up. So,
Yeah.
Zan, how did you find Dom Moore's race? Because Dom Moore drove really well, had some nice battles, and nearly pinched up P2. Maybe that yellow flag at the back on that last lap maybe sort of hurt him, but he kept it penalty free and he finished in P3. So, how do you think of his race this evening?
Oh, it was lovely. I can definitely tell you he is stoked about it. I'm pretty sure on the race I didn't get to watch all of it. I was a bit busy taking a nap. He did have a little issue, I think, here and there, but a P3, expected nothing less of him.
Yeah, and how comfortable did he feel coming into tonight? We felt that Domwell could have been a good challenger in a few of these races this season, and yeah, as I said, it looked good. Qualified P9, so he didn't quite have one lap pace, but just carved his way through the field, and he was in that train pretty much that entire second stint, and was able to just make his moves and get his way through it.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it may have been he did have some issues in qualifying. I think that's what we were speaking about. I'm not too sure. I could be wrong. But I don't think he's never had that one lap pace. He's always had that race consistency. He knows when to make moves, knows when to stay out of trouble, and he's done that exactly like today. I have to set up helps him a lot as well, I think. I know, especially with Domore, you give him a good solid setup and he will perform. And this kind of showed today. He could have been in for that P2, as you did say that. First corner yellow flag on the final lap, I think did shaft him just a tad bit. Still P3.
Yes, still well deserved P3, and obviously, because are you his TP here? I can't remember. There's so many TPs I'm having to remember. So you definitely his TP. How do you find your other driver go as well? Obviously, RB Nudes, P12, so 4 points for him this evening. How'd you sort of see his race?
Oh, I definitely do know he did get hit and that cost him spun. That made him spin, which cost him a couple positions. But he has said this to me just now. If he didn't miss his breaking point, might have not been, like that might have not happened. So definitely, again, just a pure mistake. I've made tons of them, so I'm not one to ridicule anyone over it. But just happy he was able to finish a race, because points are points, and I think with how this first week's gone for us, I think we are up there maybe in the overall constructors lead, or very, very close to it. So, my one rule with these drivers is just finish. Even if it's 19th, that's like 2-3 points, I believe. Points is points at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's top 15 though. You got to finish top 15 for points. Get reduced, but
finish and make sure it's top 15. Yeah. That's how it works now.
Yeah, but you at least you got one driver on the podium, and as I said, you guys have a strong team for RB. So yeah, looking forward to seeing how you go for the rest of the season. But good luck for your guys on next week for around Jeddah.
Yes, thank you, and thank you both of you, Shining and Scotty, for the comms. You guys did really, really good. Thank you.
Definitely helps with a good race on. As I didn't want to show that just yet, but we will have a chat. We'll have a chat to him. Dan, P2, fantastic drive from yourself. P14 to P2, games driver of the day. You're probably my favourite for driver of the day as well. How was that one for you? First podium of the season.
Oh yeah, what a drive, man! It was just, like you've done enough of these, Scotty, to know when you drop the clutch and you go, you just know when it's going to be a good race. And got off the line, cleared a bunch of cars, got through turn 1 and 2, cleared a couple more, and that was it. It just made the race so much easier, when you get through that traffic. And the pace was unreal. The car felt amazing. It was so hooked up, especially on the hard tires. On the mediums, it was okay. On the hards, it was really hooked up. And that last stint, I couldn't believe how easily I was picking them off and catching up to them. Like, I just blew my mind, because normally, Scotty, I'm normally looking in my mirror for them to catch me. And it's very nice when that doesn't happen for a change.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
that was an amazing race. And not bad for the driver who wasn't drafted. Hey, not bad.
Yeah. Oh, were you drafted in Oz?
No, Ashton gave me the seat. And actually, while I'm saying that, Ashton, thank you, man, for giving me the drive. Massively appreciate it. Glad I could repay you. And for all the TPs who didn't draft me, well, that's your problem now, isn't it?
Well, you've definitely put your name out there if you can pull a performance like that. As I said, if there's any spots that open up, obviously they'll try and get you in. But how was that second stint? Obviously, you said you like the hards, but obviously you went longer on that first stint. You went 13 laps compared to Donmore, who boxed lap 10, Aussie, who boxed lap 11. So was that sort of your plan, just to, obviously with those mediums, just extend it a little bit more to give you that edge at the end in case we didn't have a safety car?
Well, look, you and me are a lot alike, Scotty. I like to look at statistical data, same as what you do. Bahrain league races, we very rarely ever get a safety car. So I thought, and the game was telling me to go on a two-stopper. Generally, with my pace, I like to do a one-stop. I don't really think two-stop is the way to go. So I thought I'll just extend the medium as far as I can go, and then I'll get overtaken by a bunch of cars, but then I'll have fresher tyres at the end, and that's always the game plan. That's usually my game plan in most races, but tonight it worked out even better than I could have thought. So yeah.
Well, definitely worked for you. Jeddah next week, obviously street circuit. We know chaos can happen there most of the time. How are you feeling for that? If you get a seat, as I said, if there's a reserve seat there.
Scotty, I'm full time in Sauber now, mate.
Oh, you're now full.
Yeah, I'm full time in Sauber now. Yeah.
Clearly, I don't know what I'm talking about, but well, obviously, because you're now full time. Ashton's lucked out. Jeddah next week. How you feeling?
Well, I actually haven't done. I don't think I've done a league race on this game on that track, so it's going to be interesting. But I really liked it on 23 and 22. So yeah, I mean, we'll just see how we go. I mean, look, my goal, mate, score points every race and just see where we end up. So that's where I'm at. If I can be in the top 15, that's all that matters. So.
Well, it's second place for you, 24 points for Sauber as well, and kickstarts your championship hunt very, very nicely indeed. But yeah, big congratulations to you, Dan. Probably a lot of people's drive of the day, and yeah, good. We'll see you next week at Jeddah.
Yeah, no worries. There you go. Bye.
All right, and our P1, we didn't really see anything of him on track. Cash Mash, absolutely dominating fashion. You won that by in both quali and the race. Do you feel that your time in T3 will be short-lived?
Thanks, guys. Probably, but I didn't get fastest lap, so maybe I can get one more race in, surely.
Oh, I don't know, but how was Bahrain for you? Because as I said, you took off. You were able to get that 1 second gap straight away, and you just cruised. So sort of talk us about your race, because as I said, we sort of barely saw you.
Yeah, I feel like I did a bit of practice because last season in the leagues I would slip around a lot, and Bahrain wouldn't be a strength of mine. So I put in a bit of practice to really get the feel of the car and how to get the grip through the corners, especially with the gears. And I felt like it was quite easy to pull away with Kingy and Bridgie battling and slowing people down behind me. And once I got that space, I could just drive my own race and preserve my tyres as long as I could. And I think that's why it helped with the pace and the traction in the corners. So yeah.
And obviously you extended your stop as well because obviously you had the gap. Any concerned with sort of tyre wear or anything like that, or you sort of knew once you had the gap, you saw probably the guy, or you knew the guys were fighting behind, just a bit of a cruisy 29 laps for you?
No, yeah, it was pretty cruisy with not having to battle, but there was at one point I think I felt a little twitch, and that was behind Battle Cat when he was in first place when he was still in the hards, and I was just trying to get around him, and I was pushing a little bit. But other than that, yeah, I could just chill on the tires really with no one pushing up behind me.
Yeah, well, as I said, you drove a fantastic race. If you manage to hang on for another Tier 3 race, Jeddah next week, how do you actually feel around there? We know Dan hasn't actually driven it in a proper league race around here, but how do you find it?
Horrible. I'm really slow, so
So
yeah,
you're probably
hopefully
gonna
I can drive it.
You can drive it. You probably want to hope that you're about 2 seconds slower a lap than what you probably were to give you any chance of driving again. But yeah, well,
Yeah.
as I said, no matter sort of you're in the wrong tier or not, that flawless masterclass of driving from yourself, and yeah,
Thank you.
doesn't matter which tier you sort of drive in. Yeah, fantastic drive, and we look forward to see you back on track soon.
Yeah, cheers, Scotty. Thanks, Sandon.
All right, so that is our top 3. So before we head off, let's have a quick look at our race results. There's your podium cash match down the race at Donmore in P3. Our fastest lap did go to David when he did that second stop onto the soft compounded tyres, 131.063. King Doggo was about half a second behind on a 0.572. Cash Mash in third would have done them on the medium tyre on a 131.660. So Dave gets the 2 points. Fastest lap, not fastest lap, driver of the day. We have to give it to Dan. He drove a fantastic race, P14 to P2, up 12 spots, made the moves when he had to. Fantastic drive, but yeah, fantastic for Dan the Racer. And our provisional results on screen now. Cash Mash Dan the Racer, Donmore, Aussie T8, Bridgie, Battle Cat up 5. Bevo, David, and A-Dog finishing just inside the top 10, up 6 spots. So good points for A-Dog and McLaren, both inside the top 10. Deadly Fully in P11, Nudes in P12, Bozzy in 13th, King Dogger in 14th. Parallel Aussie in 15th, but again, Cuds was classified, which I forgot to fix up. So he will be classified in P13. So be Cuds, then Bozzy, then King Dogger. So Paulie, unfortunately, is out in P16. Jace will be 17th. Nigeria 89 will be 18th. And we did have 2 retirements. It was Mumba and Jerabot, who unfortunately we lost both due to retiring in pit lane. So that will just about wrap us up. Before we go, Shining Swarm. I probably did a little bit too much of the talking, but I'm very thankful to have you in the box and this evening. And final thoughts on what you thought that race was like, because that was a fantastic race that we did see.
Yep. That was a fantastic race.
Yeah, exactly. It was a very, very nice race. But yeah, thank you for jumping into the comms box with me. And everybody, thank you for watching us at home. Round 1 of Season 8 of AUSF1 is in the books now. So to Saudi Arabia for the Jeddah Cornish circuit for round 2, Tier 1 on Monday at 7:30 Australian Eastern Daylight Time. Tuesday for Tier 2, and then this time next week for Tier 3. So obviously standings and the final results will be in the Discord. Obviously we'll have the verdicts as well. So don't think we saw too many incidents. A little bit of argy-bargy, but I think we should be right in terms of any massive penalties. So that should be good for the drivers. So those results probably won't change a hell of a lot. But again, shout out to our podium, Cash Mash, with the victory in dominant fashion ahead of Dan the Racer and Dom Wall rounded out your podium. So Scotty, big thanks to Shining Swarm for jumping into the comms. We'll catch you Monday night for Tier 1, Round 2 at Jeddah for AUSF1. Until then, we'll catch you later.
Yeah.